Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。For years, Western media and US hawks have been screaming from the rooftops that a Chinese invasion of Taiwan Island was right around the corner, even putting a date on it, 2027. But now the narrative is suddenly shifting. American intelligence officers must have bought a copy of my book, which literally has an entire chapter dedicated to peaceful reunification. Either that or they've finally started listening to what every single Chinese leader has been saying since 1949. Reuniting Taiwan Island with the Chinese mainland should be achieved through peaceful means. So now all of a sudden, ordinary Americans are realizing that those invasion windows were little more than Cold War-style scaremongering. Today we'll go beyond the propaganda and look at all the details. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham here in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. A massive shift in tone has erupted from Washington this week as the 2026 annual threat assessment of the US intelligence community was released. For years, officials obsessed over the so-called Davidson window, claiming China wanted to be ready to invade Taiwan Island by 2027. Well, according to their latest intelligence, that window has been slammed shut. The report explicitly states that Beijing probably will continue seeking to set the conditions for eventual unification with Taiwan short of conflict. It goes even further, admitting that the Chinese government prefers to achieve unification without the use of force, if possible. Wow, I mean, that's just what every single leader since 1949 has said continuously over and over again. In fact, I have a whole chapter on the issue in my book, The Wu Mao Handbook, which is literally titled Lie Number 14, Taiwan Invasion. In it, I use publicly available information from China to show that peaceful reunification was always the goal. Here's a quick quote. Taiwan's reunification with the motherland using peaceful means in order to avoid the use of force has been the aim of China's government for decades. All of China's leaders have emphasized the desire for peaceful reunification, and that information has been available in multiple languages for decades. So what about that 2027 deadline? Well, the US intelligence community now assesses that Chinese leaders do not currently plan to execute an invasion of Taiwan in 2027, nor do they have a fixed timeline for achieving unification. Instead, the report recognizes that China's real focus is its long-term goal of national rejuvenation by 2049. Wow, shock horror. Again, this information has been publicly available for decades, and not just in the Chinese language. It's hilarious to see the US mainstream media try to walk this back. Bloomberg is reporting that US agencies have softened their outlook. Meanwhile, CNN now admits that an imminent attack is unlikely. Even Fox News is pivoting, noting that while China is building its military, it likely prefers to set the conditions for an eventual peaceful reunification. The intel report also highlights that Beijing will consider a variety of factors in its decision-making, including PLA readiness, the actions and politics of Taiwan, and whether or not the US will militarily intervene. Again, this is exactly what China has been saying for decades, but the US is only just discovering it now. The report even mentions that China sees benefits to and is prioritizing a productive, stable economic relationship with the US. What? So you mean China wasn't trying to bring the US down? Again, this information has been available for decades upon decades. Sorry to keep saying that. And China translates all of its official statements into multiple languages. Having said that, US officials probably find it extremely difficult to take China's word at face value, especially since the word of American leaders holds so little value. Talk is cheap for American politicians, but China is not the United States. And you can rest assured that every public statement Chinese officials make has been checked and double-checked for accuracy. China is not going to blatantly go back on anything it states publicly. For China, as opposed to the United States, what is said is as good as gold. It seems the US is finally realizing that every accusation they leveled against China about imminent wars was just a reflection of their own behavior. As China's foreign ministry spokesperson Lin Jian put it, the US needs to stop hyping up the China threat theory. And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I would love to hear your thoughts. Is the US finally waking up to the reality of China's peaceful intentions? Or is this just another tactical pivot to focus on other conflicts? Do let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.